We are back. It's been way less than even 2 weeks. It's not even been a week. It's just a day under a week since I said I'm probably going to be taking a 2-week break. I did say I would do an episode yesterday. There was still so much news coming out over the 2 days. I decided to put it off till today, and I wanted to do a very comprehensive episode. Oh, by the way, this episode will probably come up to, let's just say, a decent length. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stories. Oh, by the way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those stories are on Samsung event, so it will be fairly quick. The EU had launched a full investigation into Google's Fitbit acquisition. Nearby Share is finally launching. I still don't have it on my phone. More information on that, and also I really do want people to get in contact with me when they get access to it. I have a sneaky suspicion about my carrier stopping me from getting these sorts of updates. I can't tell how it could be that my carrier is taking forever to do updates, which isn't unusual for carriers here in the UK. I'll probably go into that a bit in a separate episode over on Android analysis later tonight. But Greg Joswiak has replaced Phil Schiller as head of Apple marketing. Schiller's still going to be leading the App Store and Apple events, so yeah. Microsoft is supposedly going to cover the entire world with its TikTok deal. That's not too much of a surprise. Okay, so let's get started, and we're going to go from the last one I mentioned to the first one I mentioned. Ironically, we're going to go in backwards in order due to the way the tabs work. So, firstly, TikTok and Microsoft. For those of you who are unaware, Microsoft is supposedly so far guaranteed, or at least has stated interest in the US, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand versions of TikTok. So, in essence, it was going to splinter TikTok. Now, I did read some more into this. It said that this could lead to a splinter version of it. So, the US, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand operations being on a very separate base to the UK and rest of the world. Personally, this is quite a big thing. I just kind of recently, a few singers in the US and areas actually have started to get TikTok and a few actors and stuff, and they're singing on there. Sometimes when I'm bored, I just scroll through my feed and listen to the songs that pop up on there because I can't find anything else on Spotify or YouTube. First world problems. And I'll just scroll through there listening to the songs that are on there. Normally very good, because it is like singers that are good. And most of those are in the US, not many of the UK ones actually have it. Or at least as far as I'm aware. Please don't hate me if I'm wrong on that. Just what I've preserved. But this would basically, this purchase would splinter the entire acquisition. So 2 versions of TikTok for 2 different markets. And it would also be harder for Microsoft to then start kind of coordinating all of it. Now, it's in its early stages, as it had to be set on September 15th. So, it had to be done by September 15th. Unless it was sold to an American company, so that's great. But basically, in addition to the global operations, they're also looking at adding a 1-year timeline to separate the apps from ByteDance and address security concerns. That makes sense, as splitting the app off from ByteDance could take a while. Some people, however, are saying it could take up to 8 years for this acquisition to go through. Just for some context on this sort of thing, this actually links quite nicely into, so that's quite bad, but for some context on that 8 years thing, I got a thing about Google's Fitbit acquisition. You know what, let's go straight into this. Let's drag this over to the second tab here in Chrome. Honestly, I got so many tabs open, it's a nightmare. But basically, Google's Fitbit acquisition was announced late last year, as far as I remember. It doesn't actually have it on the article I'm reading here. November 2019. Now, the EU is investigating it over the health data fits, as Google has stated repeatedly that they won't use the health data for marketing. They've stated that multiple times. And the EU, in their stupid, backwards fashion, had decided, you know what, Apple's not been paying taxes for years, but after their appeal, we're just going to let them get away with it. You know, we don't really care that Apple haven't been paying their taxes. They're allowed to. Google, they promised not to use the data. I know it's just a stringy word promise. They could do whatever they like just over a promise. If they signed a contract, they'd be much more obliging. But the fact is, they stated that they wouldn't do this. And EU goes, not immediately, not 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. It is, okay, you know, I'm going to count backwards. 10 months after Google has stated they wouldn't use the data. They stated this when they first announced the acquisition of Fitbit. And after was again when the EU first announced their concerns about Google, which was about a month ago, so 9 months ago. So 9 months after the purchase, I believe. 8 or 9 months, I can't remember which month it was, I apologise for that. I have a thing for you, EU. You've had 8 months to start this investigation. You've had 8 months to announce this investigation, 8 or 9, depending on when. And then you've taken 10 months to launch the investigation. And it's then going to carry on until December 9th, 2020, aka 90 days from, this was on August 4th. So I just want to clarify what I'm doing here. I'm doing a few stories from a few different days just to kind of keep things not all in one day, as I normally would. We're already almost coming up on 10 minutes. Now I have time for about, 6 stories. Okay, the Samsung stuff is going to have to be very sped up then. So the EU is actually... Okay, no, I'm going to change the format of this. It's 7 minutes in, we're changing format. The first 4 stories, which are separate, will be done separately in this segment. Then I'm going to do a whole segment on Samsung. That segment, I will also be recording a specific half-hour episode for Android analysis. And as of tomorrow, I will be changing up the way I record this because I'm done with this stupid half-an-hour time limit. Honestly, I hate it. It's just pointless in my opinion. Yeah, anyway, good times, awesome, let's move on. So basically they say that the data collected, get this, start quote, the data collected via wrist-worn wearable devices appears to be an important advantage in the online advertising markets, end quote. You're telling me that could be valuable for online marketers? Who would have guessed? Sorry I'm being so mocking of this, I just find this really frustrating, this one. Honestly, I haven't found an investigation announcement so annoying in comparison to this one. Quote continued, by increasing the data advantage of Google in personalization of ads it serves via its search engine displayed on other internet pages, it will be more difficult for rivals to match Google's online advertising services, end quote. Okay, so I was aware of this. I'm just kind of, that quote is a very obvious quote to me. But this does sound like more of an anti-competition thing than anything actually. The quote, by increasing the data advantage of Google, does definitely appear to be a more, it does definitely appear to be a more anti-competition. Why Google coming up with anti-competition? Is that their new hot word now? It does really appear to be anti-competitive investigation more than anything. Now, Google responded to the concern by promising not to use health data for targeted ads and will in fact place it in a separate data silo. So what that means is the data will be kept completely separate from the ad tracking business. So it will be kept somewhere in a completely different area. If it's not in a completely different building, then a different area. However, EU says these assurances are insufficient as information Google promised to place in a silo, quote, did not cover all the data that Google would access as a result of the transaction and would be valuable for advertising purposes, end quote. Yeah, Yeah, okay, now this one I do understand as well, and this is why I do believe it is more anti-competition than, oh, it's Google, we can't trust. They're concerned about interoperability of rival fitness tracking devices with Android. Understandably, it could be that Google could basically build in Fitbit into Android in a way that would be impossible for other devices to replicate, and I understand that is a concern. Fitbit is a massive competitor as it is already, and personally for a fitness device, I go with Samsung devices for my smartwatch and everything, more because I got one of their phones than any other reason. But the fact is, I do completely understand where the EU is coming from with this concern that they have, that it could again limit competition. Now, for Samsung devices and carrier and manufacturer specific, like Samsung, Xiaomi, Huawei aren't really involved in this anymore. I hate saying that because I know Huawei still make Android devices, but it's very different now to how it used to be, and I hope it goes back to normal soon. Because Huawei does make some good, decent devices when they're not spying on people. Yeah, it does seem to be a more anti-competition spurred than anything, to be fair. Now, the Google Senior Vice President of Hardware, Rick Osterloh? Sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. But he stressed that there was vibrant competition to Fitbit's devices, and the search giant would be happy to make legally binding commitments on how it will use the health data it collects as part of the deal. So, quote, "We appreciate the opportunity to work with the European Commission on an approach that addresses consumers' expectations of their wearable devices," end quote. Quick tip, EU, save your time. Google has said, if you want a legally binding commitment, then we will sign that commitment. There's no worries from us. Yeah. So instead of going for a whole 90 days investigation and then just coming out with the same thing, just draw up something that says they are not allowed to use any of the data they get from Fitbit in any advertising under any circumstances, and they're not allowed to use it. Just draw up some sort of agreement that means Google can't use that data for anything to do with whatever you don't want it used for, which sounds most likely as going to be advertising purposes. Just draw up a legally binding agreement, put it in front of Google, ask them to sign it. You don't need to go through it unless there is some legal reason. As far as I can tell, there's no reason to drag Google through the mud of a whole investigation for 3 months when they have literally stated, yeah, we'll sign a legally binding agreement. They literally said they're happy to. So just, if anyone from the EU is listening, which I doubt you are, just save yourself some time. Just save yourself some time. You guys work hard on this sort of stuff, and when you got the opportunity to save yourself time, please do it. Take a bit of a break. You do some good stuff, and it might be frustrating for some of us, but it's more frustrating just because you're working extra time than you need to, because you could just draw up the agreement. You could just draw up the agreement, present it in front of the EU to make sure they're happy, and then give it to Google and ask them to sign it. And as long as they sign it, it's fine. I understand the investigation though, to an extent, because you want to see how far they could go with it. Let's go with Phil Schiller no longer being head of Apple marketing quickly. It's a fairly small story. Phil Schiller is stepping into a somewhat smaller role after decades with the company. He's dropping his role as Senior Vice President of Worldwide Marketing. That's the title. They go remain in charge of App Store and Apple events. No! Oh, for crying out loud, Phil Schiller. Why do you have to leave in charge of the App Store? This could have been a really good chance to see Apple change the way the App Store runs. Whatever. In my opinion, the App Store works the way it does. It's becoming a little bit better with their new bug reports and stuff. Anyway. Marketing is a huge role inside of Apple, however, as it goes beyond advertising their products. So So it's a very significant change. According to Apple, the marketing division is, quote, responsible for Apple's product management and marketing, developer relations, market research, business management, as well as education, enterprise, and international marketing, end quote. Jules Wiak, the new head of marketing, has been in Apple leadership roles for more than 2 decades, and he has led Apple's worldwide product marketing for the last 4 years. Schiller has been with Apple since 1997, helping to steer the company from one of its lowest points to the technology juggernaut it is today. While he'd been in charge of marketing, he's also known for involvement in hardware, as he often presents new products like the Mac Pro on stage at the events. Some areas within Schiller's expansive purview have been under criticism recently, though. Developers have complained that Apple have begun to ignore pros with its product lines. The App Store rules are becoming more and more confusing and are now leading to very widespread criticism after the hate email issue. Everyone, send me an email at analysis at. You can either send it to 2 places. Either just send it to luke@downoutdigitalworld.co.uk or analysis@downoutdigitalworld.co.uk. To be honest, it goes to the same email address just to give people specific places to send it to. But send it to any of the downoutdigitalworld.co.uk email addresses, whether that suffix be Luke, Android, Analysis, or Dive. Send it to whichever one you want, really. It'll be fine. Schiller's new title, however, I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm wrong, because saying Schill in his name does not feel right. But it's going to be Apple Fellow, apparently, according to a press release. It will allow him to continue providing the incredible thought, partnership, and guidance he has for decades, according to Tim Cook. It suggests he's stepping back to an extent from Apple. He also suggests as much in the press release as, quote, it is time for some planned changes in my life. End quote, he wants to, quote, make some time in the years ahead for my family, friends, and few personal projects I care deeply about, end quote. He is definitely not disappearing. The App Store is a massive role, especially as it emphasizes revenue for its services business, which made it almost 23% of Apple's sales last quarter. 23% of a quarter. That is insane. He also doesn't plan on disappearing. He's saying he'll keep working there as long as they have him. He bleeds 6 colours. I don't know what that means. Anyway, Apple doesn't shake up top ranks very often at all. However, since 2019 there have been some changes, as in November 2019, Johnny Ive, the longest design leader, departed the company. He started to step back in 2015, reducing his involvement in day-to-day operations and shifting his role in the years that followed. In 2019, Jay Dowling left his role as Apple's PR chief, and in April 2019, Angela Arendts left her role as Apple's retail chief, having joined in 2014 after leaving her position as CEO of Burberry. I don't know what Burberry is, but I feel like it must be some sort of retail company if she then went into head of retail at Apple. Again, apologies if that's some sort of American company that I'm unaware of. I live in the UK, so yeah. Android and nearby share. Now, I did previously have a dedicated thing for this. That will now be moving over to Android analysis. But I can't really do anything. See, nearby share is launching, but it's not fully launched. It's already available on select Pixel and Samsung phones after it actually came off of my phone a few months ago and never reappeared Yeah, I don't know when it's supposed to reappear. I'll just wait a few weeks. If I don't hear anything, I'll probably send out a message or something to double check whether it's actually connected or compatible with my device, which it probably is, because it says it is compatible with every Android device running Android 6 and up. That is a fair chunk of devices, Apple. Sorry, Android. Got that a bit wrong. Nearby Share works very much like Apple's AirDrop for iPhone. You select the Nearby Share button on Share menu and wait for a nearby phone to appear. Then whatever thing you're sharing is sent directly over your transfer method of choice to the other phone. You can change your preferred visibility to different levels of contacts, all, some, or stay hidden, and it's even possible to send and receive files anonymously, which is very handy for those people who want to do that. However, it could also lead you into air sloughing. For those of you who are unaware, The Verge actually did this thing. How many years ago was this now? Let's open up the tab. It's directly linked on here, so it won't take too long. But basically, The Verge just airdropped loads of people random slots. But it was in 2014 he started doing this. This happened. Josh Lowenson in 2014 used airdrop to troll strangers with photos of space sloths. He did it for about a year. Okay. Yeah, anyway, so basically the way that this could work is it could allow this sort of thing to happen. Wouldn't be much of a surprise. However, it can work with a variety of things, and this is really cool. So Bluetooth Low Energy, WebRTC, or peer-to-peer Wi-Fi. So there's 4 different ways for it to work. I'm assuming this is very similar to AirDrop again. It's a very similar technology, except multiple brands, multiple companies, multiple devices, probably hundreds if not thousands of actual models. I'm not talking devices in the wild, that will be thousands probably. But yeah. I actually just saw an article from 9to5 Mac in their headline of Happy Hour 289. That's their podcast if you want one that's fairly developed. They got it as Schiller retires. I don't think he's retiring as far as I'm hearing. Maybe that's happened recently. Okay, I will take a look at that in a second actually when I go over to the Samsung one just to double check that. As that is, I don't think he's retiring though. But anyway, Nearby Share currently works between Android phones and will work with Chromebooks in coming months. However, iOS, Mac, and Windows devices are unable to work at the time. However, Google was questioned on if it will occur, and a Google spokesperson said it, quote, plans to try to expand the feature to additional platforms in the future, end quote. Now, that is definitely good to hear. This could be the most interoperable way to share content. And they could probably do this through the Chrome browser on at least Macs and Windows if there's less restrictions for outside of App Store apps. That being said, with macOS on ARM, it's going to become slightly different. And it could be harder for them to, and I don't know what kind of go on with downloading apps from outside of the App Store ecosystem. We're unaware of whether that's going to make it fully locked down or not. I'm hoping not, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, as stated, iOS, Mac, and Windows can't be done now, but it could happen in the future. Now, 9 years ago, though, Apple introduced AirDrop to iPhone and Mac. That was in 2011. Android has gone through a few iterations, but none really came near AirDrop, and none of them were universally adopted by Android manufacturers. Nearby Share, however, is much more likely to be done, as it comes through a Google Play Services update instead of a full OS update, so it makes it more likely that it will just be available on your device. You won't necessarily receive a notification. When I first got it, I didn't actually receive a notification on my device I had it on, so So context, this was on my Galaxy A8. It was running a modded version of Android, like a custom version of Android basically, but it still had Google Play services installed by G apps, not official Google version or anything, installed by G apps. But it basically just worked perfectly, and the icon for nearby share will look like a couple of interfree threads. It just kind of appeared. I wasn't even expecting it, so you might not necessarily know when it occurs. Now, you just toggle availability on and off with busting in quick settings, which makes it fairly easy. Currently, as far as I can tell, you can only do hidden some contacts or all contacts. Slightly different to AirDrop, that might change more in the full release. Yeah, so 9 years later, and we finally have an AirDrop competitor. So that is everything for our 4 kind of individual stories about our individual companies. We got something for basically every 3 of the 4 companies in today. We got Microsoft, Google, and Google. We got Microsoft, Google, Fitbit, and Apple. And we still got Microsoft and Samsung to come. If you're wondering what Microsoft is going to be still coming up, I will have more on that in the next segment. But as for now, that is the first part of this episode. If you don't really want to hear the Samsung event, then feel free to stop now. If you do, then thank you for listening. If not, then please carry on listening for the Samsung event. If you do want specifically the Samsung event though, then actually looking at the time, tomorrow I will launch the Samsung specific one. Technically it'll be recorded, but the Samsung specific one is going to be recorded differently. And that'll be on Android Analysis. I'll post a link in the description of today's episode when that occurs. I'll be back in. For you it'll be 2 seconds. For me it's probably going to be about 10 minutes because I need a drink. So thanks for listening so far, and I'll see you in the next segment in about 2 seconds. Bye. Okay, so Samsung held their Galaxy Unpacked event yesterday, and wow, did they announce a lot. This recording today is going to be on 2 things. The first thing it will be on is Done Out Digital World, as that's what I'm recording it for. And then I have decided it will also be coming over to Android Analysis. Now, if you're on Done Out Digital World, you will have heard I'm actually going to do a different recording. I changed my mind. It's going to be easy to do this, so I figured, hey, half an hour. Do I really need more than that to talk about 2 products? Or, yes, they announced more, but really, we're only going to talk about 3 of... Was it 5 products? Yeah, 3 of the 5 products they released. We're only going to be talking about 3 of them. It's just, these are, I believe, the 3 that most people will be purchasing now. I'll do a separate thing on Android Analysis after this for the Tab S series, and the Z Fold 2. Just those aren't fully released. So let's just get started with the S7 and Z Fold, because I do want to give them a quick mention for those of you on Done Out Digital World. But basically, Z Fold 2 5G, that is a different name, is basically the original Fold, but every single thing that people said that they didn't like about the original Fold has basically been adjusted in one way or another. The amount of cameras has actually been reduced from 6 to 5. So 1 camera adjustment. Wow. 5 cameras. The hinge have been completely redesigned, so there's a much smaller gap. The front screen is now a full, what you would expect to see in your S20 or even your Galaxy A71, which is the phone I have and have been daily driving for a couple of weeks now. For 2 weeks from tomorrow actually. So from 2 weeks tomorrow, what I've been seeing. And then for the Tab S7, you're basically getting an Android tablet that can finally compete with the iPad Pro. I am happy about this. And if Apple wants to call their tablet a computer, Samsung have got a flipping computer interface built into their tablet when connected to a keyboard case. Oh, and that keyboard case costs, I think it's 65 quid or something like that. Yeah, stay tuned for more information on how that works. If you're on Android Analysis, or if you're on Digital World, go to Android Analysis. That's enough of those three though. And you know what, we're going to get on to the thing that's really cool for me, and I think makes me the happiest about this, even though there are caveats for my phone actually, unfortunately. 3 generations of Android OS updates for most Galaxy phones. They actually said some, but basically, the guarantee applies to S, N, and Z series. However, A series will only support until hardware allows. So, the N series stands for their Note series, S series stands for their S10, for their flagship Galaxy S, the ones released in January or February. Note is in August, and then Z is, so far it's actually been revealed in both events, for January and the August. It's the only series I believe has had 2 announcements at events, at 2 different events in 1 year. So that's going to be great. The A series will be supported until hardware allows, so that could be 3 years. So I could have this phone for 3 years and actually do that comfortably now. If I can, I'd be really happy about that. But we're not sure. Now, the question of the wording, however, states generations as opposed to OS versions or years. It gives them a little wiggle room if necessary, so there's a sort of delay, or Google releases a major point upgrade. So an 11.5, so it'd be 11, 11.5, and 12, probably. They don't normally release major point updates, that hasn't happened since, I think, Android 5, as far as I'm aware. But still, it could happen. So, you can't have, Samsung isn't ready to commit to multiple updates a year. So let's see how well Samsung sticks to its promise. It's a massive commitment though, as Samsung is currently selling more than 20 phones that would fall under this 3-year guarantee. And they also have to account for the regional builds of many of those phones, so that's a massive amount of support that Samsung sells. Now, things like the A51 and A71 of it are very low end. They're still in under 400 quid. And the company isn't sure about future iterations of Samsung's version of Android on these phones. Now, I don't believe this means that the A71, my phone, it better not mean that my A71 is just going to get cancelled for Android 11. I will not be happy. That update comes out in a month, and I got this phone, so I could get that update and Android 12 at least. Because my last phone I cheated, because they released it with Nougat the month I got it. That was already, whenever it released, they could have easily released it with Oreo. Then they released the Oreo update, which was the first generation of updates. And then after that, they released the Android Pie update, Android 9, the last one with the dessert name, and well, look at that. My phone no longer got a version update including Android 10, so I went a whole year basically where I would have had security updates. I think I still would have got them this year, but I decided to, I'll just mod it, go on to Android 10, be happier with it. Worked out for me great on terms of Android 10 after I got my new phone, ironically actually. But anyway, yeah, I'm assuming this just means that I will get probably the same 2 years I'm already guaranteed, but possibly, or 2 generations of updates, and possibly a third if I'm lucky. I don't blame Samsung for that, and I'm more than happy with that. I normally update every 2 years anyway, so I understand that. So yeah, let's just see how Samsung keeps to this. I think they are going to try and do this for as many devices as possible, to be honest. Samsung, for all their flaws, is a company that is probably competing with Apple the most in terms of the Android space. They are now second due to Huawei somehow managing to come first, even losing everything they've lost. But yeah, just a small thing actually, it just popped up for me. The US Senate has officially moved to ban TikTok on government phones. Not a massive surprise. I just figured I'd give that a small update here quickly, as I just saw it pop up. Anyway, so that's kind of your updates, and then let's go on to Microsoft and how they're now even more involved with Samsung than before, somehow. So, for those of you who maybe, everyone will have heard of this, but Apple, their ecosystem is incredible. Honestly, the way everything just works is absolutely amazing, and I personally applaud them for it. It's a very long time to do this sort of thing, and it takes a lot of work to get it right. However, Samsung is partnering so close with Microsoft at the minute. They're partnering together on everything from mobile gaming bundles to optimized apps and integrating software. You'll even be able to use and control multiple apps that are installed on your Samsung phone directly on your Windows 10 PC. You'll also be able to use your Samsung tablet as a secondary display as well. Personally, I currently rock an iPad. I have an iPad Air 2, which is kind of my home iPad, and then my school supplies me with an iPad which I pay off monthly over the year, just to use that. But personally, I've always wanted to move away from iPads. I love the device, but the lock-in where you're just completely locked into the system is not very nice for me. The only reason I really keep it is because of the update support, but I believe I'm probably going to get cut out from it on my Air 2 by the end of year 11. So I'm about to take my GCSEs next year, which is scary. But yeah. Anyway, so let's go with this partnership. Basically, Satya Nadella appeared at the Samsung Note 10 event last year, but this is massively different now. The ecosystem is between iOS and Android, but it's not just between iOS and Android. It's between Apple and Samsung. I would honestly say it's Apple and Samsung. Apple, they make everything. They make every device you can imagine. The only company on the Android side of things that I believe has the ability to match that sort of scale is Samsung. They make tablets, they make watches, they make earbuds, they make phones, tablets, watches, earbuds, laptops. They make every device in the ecosystem. I don't believe they have a desktop or an all-in-one yet, actually. Yeah, okay, Samsung, quick tip for you, get on that front of it. That could be really cool for you. But the point is, the battle between iOS and Android is massive, and it extends far beyond our phones. That's actually the reason why I go with Android, because I can connect it to both a Windows PC and a Linux PC. That's the main reason why. Now, the way it interacts with other computers, it could be your laptop, your desktop, or your game console. That's massive on this. That'll be done soon. Now, there's a lot of projects that they've been co-developing recently. Gaming, office, and productivity. So let's start with gaming. Basically, Microsoft's xCloud game streaming service is launching in September, for those of you who are unaware. And a very special version of the Game Pass app will be coming to the Galaxy Store. That's not available on the Google Play Store. Now, this doesn't mean that you won't be able to stream on Google Play Store. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, I want to make that clear to everyone who has or is looking involved to this. That's not what I can take from this. That would be ridiculous and silly of them. But basically, because this is the whole point of xCloud is to get everyone gaming. Apple's kind of stopping that, but you know, this isn't about Apple, this is about Samsung right now. Samsung Galaxy Store app will come with features not available in the Play Store version. So as far as I can tell, I don't know exactly what these are. I'm going to open this up in a tab and I'll go over it soon. But there's basically going to be a gaming bundle for the Note 20 and Note 20 Plus, which comes with 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate and a third-party controller designed specifically for streamed games. This is part of a partnership between Microsoft and another company that I forget the name of, that are kind of their clip designer and stuff. I always have this game clip I got it from EXO 2019. It's the Moga Powerade, that's the company. I have the Powerade Moga game clip always attached to my controller, whether I'm gaming on my console or my phone. I can literally just unscrew it, flip it up, toss my phone in, connect it via Bluetooth, play wherever I am. So handy when you're around with friends when lockdown is over, or if you're just out, you can just play. Really handy. It's massive. As for productivity in Office, this is massive. So, a Samsung Notes app will sync with Outlook and OneDrive. Reminders will sync across multiple services, including To-Do, Teams, and Outlook. Microsoft is also going to be optimizing apps such as PowerPoint, Word, and Excel for display of the default too. And there are also minor tie-ups, such as using the Galaxy Tab S7 as an external display for Windows 10 machines. However, the most important one, if you're a Windows user, is that you will be able to basically run your Galaxy apps relatively natively on your Windows 10 display. Like literally pin it to the taskbar, and then as long as your device is connected to your PC, your device does have to be connected. As long as your device is connected, you can then open up WhatsApp, you can open up the Play Store, you can just access apps on your phone from your phone, and you won't even have to think about it. It can be really handy. Say you kind of want to scroll through Instagram, and naturally it's always easy to do that on the biggest screen you've got, because I know I personally don't always like doing it on the tiny phone screen I have access to here. So it could just be handy to pop it up, have it next to me whilst I'm just scrolling through something on here, and just send a message quickly on WhatsApp or something. It's massively powerful, and you can actually run multiple apps side by side later this year. However, this has probably been in the works for some time, as in WWDC 2020, Apple shared a demo of iOS and iPadOS apps running natively on macOS thanks to the ARM-based processors. These approaches are very differently. Samsung's appear to be streaming from a connected phone, but Apple's are running natively. However, you're basically using mobile device on your computer. Google isn't really in the conversation at all. They didn't even get a mention until the final third of the keynote. Google's ecosystem solution, however, is to allow Android apps to run on top of Chrome OS just natively, as well as some minor Android Chrome OS integration like tethering. It's quite buggy, and Chrome OS isn't really massive. I personally would not use it. However, there is definitely a line between a phone, a tablet, and even a laptop. They become so blurry now. Lots of people, including myself, are asking, what is a computer? Does a computer need to have a keyboard or trackpad? Does it need to have a touchscreen? No, what is it? Now, there are some things that Samsung is still behind Apple on, just due to the way that Apple controls everything. But still, Samsung being partnered with Microsoft, it seems very cool. And whilst Android's open source core is very reliant on Google to make it full, Samsung has more than enough ability to build its own features on top of One UI. So yeah. And Samsung also has its approaches. has its advantages in its approach by deferring to Microsoft's biggest strengths. So xCloud is something that wouldn't be possible without Microsoft, and they're now able to offer people the best possible gaming experience on mobile devices. xCloud has actually ended game streaming tests on iOS devices, with App Store policies thought to be the problem. This is why I don't like Phil Schiller being in charge of the App Store. He stops this sort of thing. Native games are not the same thing as streaming games, but at least on a Samsung device and other devices is massive. So yeah. Now, this is going massive, but Microsoft is also releasing its own mobile devices soon. However, those are very different, so I don't believe we'll see any sudden competition springing up between them, and Samsung already knew that before this announcement, so they're clearly choosing to carry on working with them. We're coming up on 20 minutes. I think I'm going to skip the xCloud. I'll do that on the Android analysis version, which I will be re-recording, officially decided. Yeah, sorry for the flip-flop, it's just things turn out differently when you're actually doing it. People think they could have been called Galaxy Beans just due to the way they look, and they look... I don't know. They are amazing, but they're also weird. They're amazingly weird. That's my official description. Amazingly weird. You cannot change my mind. You'll see that in my news article if I ever manage to write that. More on that at the end of this segment and in the final outro segment of this. There's a lot to cover today after the time taken off. And why do I keep on hitting my microphone? I swear. Let's move the mic back. There we go. Okay, mic is now safe. So, they call them the Galaxy Buds Live. Understandable. Just keeping with the name. But their design has been leaked for so long. But there's one massive question. How do you achieve noise cancellation with earbuds that don't seal in your ears? And can it even feel comfortable? The answer is yes. Now, the Buds Live is yes to some people but no to other people. Now, the Galaxy Buds Live have a very specific style, and they're also about $170 US. They're super reflective in the bronze colour, which look more like rose gold, but Samsung is experimenting with massive colour choices with their new devices, and that is something we're going to see continuing. If you just want the differences, basically they have a massively different design to anything I've ever seen, a lengthy battery life, as well as powerful balanced sound. As for noise cancellation, it's very different to what you would expect. So it will keep up classic sound like a car moving and that sort of thing, but when it comes down to people talking and stuff, don't expect to be hearing that. Don't expect to be seeing that taken away, really. I think you'll be expecting to see that stay, as you'll be able to hear people talking, which is handy, actually. Just because I want noise cancellation doesn't mean I don't want to hear people's voices. I want to hear voices, and I just don't want to hear all the background chatter. That's not someone talking to me. Necessarily. Now, some people with small ears, however, have a difficult time getting the Galaxy Buds Live to fit, but it's different. Now, the AirPods have a very different design to this, so as everyone will already know, the AirPods have a massive thing sticking out, and it just... gosh. Okay. Yeah, it exists. Now, the audio quality, however, of the way it is apparently very dynamic and full-bodied. I have been unable to test them out. Money exists. If you want me to be able to test this out, then nah, don't worry, I'm joking. But basically, they've been testing some really good things. They had 12mm drivers inside of them, larger than the Galaxy Buds Plus. There's a bass duct to help ramp up the low end. There's also an air vent to make them feel as natural as possible without the sensation of being closed off. And yeah, it's definitely good. A couple of things that they tested sounded very good. However, noise cancellation is being oversold. They lessen a significant amount of outside noise at all times. But it's very intentional and where the live part of the noise name comes from. Not going to drown out your co-workers. When we get back to the office someday, they're not going to be preferable airplane companions. They're designed to eliminate very low frequencies. The persistence of an hum of an air conditioner or the rumbling of an Amtrak. Those sorts of things. You can hear some of the ambient sound get sliced off when you turn on active noise cancellation. However, I personally would prefer this, as I like to hear the world around me. If someone's trying to speak to me nearby, I want to hear it. If there's a massive travel announcement or something whilst I'm waiting on the station, I want to hear it. Some people might want full isolation, and the Galaxy Buds Plus do create more noise isolation without ANC, actually. But regardless, it depends on what you want. Now, Bluetooth stability doesn't seem quite as robust as the Galaxy Buds Plus. Apparently there have been accounts of split second cutouts, etc. But overall it's been very good apparently. So yeah. Let's move on to the Note and the Watch 3. Now I'm going to be very quick with this. I have 6 minutes left to do this. So in the Note 20 lineup, there's Note 20 and the high-end Note 20 Ultra. Same things, both include an S Pen stylus, both have some very similar specs. However, Ultra is definitely been made on purpose, and it also allows some regular more skimp-on features. So the regular Note 20 lacks important features like a high refresh rate screen, micro SD, and periscope zoom lens. However, it's still $1,000 or 128GB of storage and 8GB of RAM. The classic Note 20 also has a plastic back, no glass. I know, it's $1,000 and they decided not to do that. I don't know why they thought that, but they decided to do that. It's very different. They both have support for 5G, so we've got that going. Then in the Note 20, it's been bumped up to $1,300 for the 128GB storage and 12GB RAM model, and $1,449 for 512GB of storage and 12GB of RAM. Pre-orders begin on August 6th, so that is today actually, and the phone should be shipping and in carrier stores that are open on August 21st. Her specs they share are support for 5G networks, improved S Pen, and the improved S Pen, more ways to control the phone wirelessly as well. There's also fast charging, wireless charging, and reverse wireless charging. And in the S20 Plus Guaranteed, there is a brand new version of Gorilla Glass that's supposedly more resistant to scratches. This is a massive improvement, and I'm looking forward to seeing Joe Rick's test on this. We've also got stereo speakers with some Dolby technology, IP68 water resistant, and shipped with Android 10. Both can record at 8K. Overkill, yes. Both support external microphone options. Next now works wirelessly by Miracast, that's a massive improvement, as well as the Microsoft tie-ins spoken about previously. Bixby still exists, as it is fourth behind Google Alexa and probably Siri, definitely in my opinion. The new finish is known as Mystic, which is a textured finish on the glass or plastic that would hopefully do a better job at repelling or hiding fingerprints. The Note 20 Ultra will be in bronze, black and white. The Note 20 will be in bronze, grey and green. Sorry about that. So yeah. The Note 20 Ultra also has a curved screen, as well as smaller top and bottom bezels, and a smaller hole punch camera. Sorry, and a small hole punch camera. I do apologise for that. This speaker seemed to... Oh, there we go. It's unplugged. And and a smaller hole punch camera. The camera bump, however, is absolutely massive. Let's go on to Watch 3 quickly. I think we've only got 3 more minutes and I really want to go through all of the devices. So basically, the Watch 3 succeeds to be original Galaxy Watch that was released in 2018 and joins with Watch Active 2 in Samsung current lineup. Starting at $400 and up. It's a bit cheaper here in the UK. I can't remember, I think it was around 350 quid. Yeah, there's no Watch Active 2. They skipped the 2 moniker to avoid confusion for Watch Active 2. It looks fairly similar to the prior model. There's a similar physical rotating dial, 2 buttons on the side, a chunkier design compared to the Active models. It's also 14% thinner and 15% lighter than the Galaxy Watch, so it's going to be more comfortable to wear, especially with smaller wrists. Screen size has also been increased to 1.4 inches on a larger variant. It's available in 2 different sizes. Sorry for my speech today, it's late. 41mm and 45mm with Bluetooth or LTE variations available on both. As expected, they have full colour always on displays with Gorilla Glass, again to be expected, and 45mm watch will be in silver or black. They both run software's Samsung Titan platform, so they work best with Samsung's iPhones, but run okay on Android devices. Don't play well with iPhones. Yeah, basically everything you would expect. I'm really sorry, but we are running right up on that 30-minute mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here. You've heard everything you can need to know in a really quick way. I'm surprised it's actually taking me this long. Yeah, massive amount of stories today. In next one, I am just going to talk about future for the podcast. But for now, I'm on 10 seconds, so thank you for listening to this segment. And I'm now going to go into the final segment. And after that, this episode will be done. Thank you for listening so far. Please carry on listening. Okay, so that is everything for the episode. Sorry the unpacked section was so precipitate at the very end. Yeah, it's a massive watch. It's a massive experience, and yeah, definitely hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Sorry, it is officially on the 1 hour mark now. Oh. No, just under it. Let's see if I can actually keep it under an hour with these announcements. So, the main announcement is I am back with a daily episode. Thank goodness. I never want to have to cover about many stories in a day again and be looking for different stories from different days. That is a nightmare. That's about 3 days worth of stories, and that's with 4 stories, that first segment, over a couple of days. That's how much things develop. Yeah. And secondly, I just want to say a massive thank you to all the support I've got. Only reason I do this podcast is for people who are listening right now. Means the world and really does help me continue to do this. The third thing, and this is the most massive announcement and the reason I took the break, which I thought would take much longer actually developing the website, is not as hard as I say it is. I know that sounds really silly to say, but it's not. Once you know the basics, you just have to do colour gradients and stuff. So the website has received its first redesign and hopefully last redesign. It's got a much nicer gradient background. It has a menu bar, just the title Dynamic Digital World at the top. It has a paragraph just explaining a bit about Dynamic Digital World, Dynamic Digital series of podcasts, so all of the podcasts with the Dynamic Digital World logo to the right of that. And just a really small paragraph underneath that explaining what Dynamic Digital World is. Over the next, probably tomorrow, we'll have a paragraph for each, just on what each podcast is. And then on the listen tab, you'll just find a link to listen to all of the latest episodes from one website. So if you don't want to go on Spotify to find all of them there, all there on the website. a link to all 4 podcasts, and any future podcasts we have will also be added. That's everything for the website. So now a news section will be coming soon. It just takes time to be able to write news articles and quickly export them to HTML. As you can probably imagine, these things are not very easy. That's one thing I'm definitely learning. So but regardless, we will be very soon announcing some new changes to the way that this will be working, in terms of the way the podcast episodes work and the way that the news does also work. So keep an eye out on episodes of all 4 podcasts to find out more about the way these podcasts will be changing and the way that things are going to change in the future. Thank you for listening. Sorry for the super long episode. This is officially the longest episode without a guest. Matt, I think I beat you for the longest episode. So everyone, thank you for listening, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode. See ya.